Also pull up this chart price of Glenmark and how that has been doing after its numbers. In fact, we've got the management as well joining in on the show, Mr. V.S. Money, the ED and Global Chief Financial Officer joining in on the show right now. Mr. Money, good morning. Great to have you in ET now. Wanted to address the US sales first. The decline of 9% and, a significant slip below that $100 million mark. Did you anticipate that? And what's the reason perhaps for this?
So let me first start with the US.
Sure.
So obviously, as you know, some of our plants have had, there are remediation going on in some of our plants. So there were some supply disruptions, and due to that, obviously the sales have come out a little bit lower. But again, now the remediation work, most of it is almost done. So I think the supplies have resumed in the current quarter. So we see some improvement on account of that. Besides, we also have in-licensed some injectable products as well as this product Verniclean. And I think with these, we should be in a better position to sort of see a much better quarter in the quarter 3 as well as quarter 4.
You say better performance. Would you think the sales would actually turn green, the US sales in particular, in the next quarter itself?
Yeah, I think so. We should be closer to the 100 million mark. So I think the previous quarter we were very close to it. But as I just said, that in the current quarter we had some supply disruptions, and that happens when you have a lot of remediation work going on. So therefore, I think we should see improvement.
100 million mark is what we expect to hit in the next quarter as far as US sales is concerned. But you talked about the supply side issues. What about the demand side? And I'm talking about the pricing specifically. We have heard a very different commentary in terms of how pricing is shaping up in the US market. What's been your assessment, and how do you expect the next 6 months to pan out?
So we have, obviously in the past it used to be pretty, the price declines used to be quite high, but I think in the last few quarters we have seen it come to more of mid-single digits. So I think going forward, that's something that's more stable, and we believe that should be the situation for some time. So I think pricing is much better today than, at least the decline is much better than what it used to be in the past.
Okay, so the decline has been arrested, but the margins for the first half of the year still remain sub 15%. But I think you have maintained the guidance that you're looking at hitting that 19% mark. How do you plan to achieve that, and how soon?
So, obviously, I would like to clarify that we had given a guidance on an overall business that was including our Glenmark Life Sciences as well, that we would be closer to the 19% mark. So, actually, when you take all of it together, we're still at, in this quarter also, we're at about 18.75%. So, obviously, very close to the 19% mark. But what I would like to say that this is the year where we are obviously in this quarter we'll be recognizing mostly the Glenmark Life Sciences divestment, and we look at this year as a transition year. And for the year 24-25, we are looking at least a 2 percentage point improvement due to reduction in the R&D spend, especially on the innovative side. Besides, we also see improvement due to margin improvement due to higher sales of Ryaltris, that is our global brand. Also, we see some margin expansion because of the leverage kicking in our Europe and LATAM markets, where obviously we have had very good growth. And besides that, as Monroe will start commercial supplies, we should see some improvement there. So that's the trajectory we are looking at. So we're looking at this quarter, all in all, sort of taking out the losses of currency. We were at about 15.75 quarters without GLS. So we have a pretty good glide path to going towards closer to 19%.
The other thing I also wanted to talk about is when it comes to India, both derma as well as your respiratory segments did not perform all that well. Tell me what the revenue trajectory is looking like, and whether that was also an aberration, you think, in the quarter gone by.
Yeah, if you really look at it, the first half as well, especially the second quarter, there was definitely a slowdown in respiratory and derma. And this is across the industry. If you look at it, the acute business did have a slowdown because of the slower onset of the monsoon. And obviously, we have now looked at the quarter 3. When we look at secondary, there is improvement in the respiratory side. Also, in our case, if you look at it, last year we had some divestment of non-core brands as well as the NLEM impact. So I think we are looking at an improved quarter 3 and a quarter 4.
Okay, you're looking at an improved quarter 3 and quarter 4. And I was just going through your launch pipeline as well. You filed, I think, quite a few ANDAs in the first half of the year itself. And for the full year, you're expecting almost 10 more. Could you give me the details in terms of what the launch pipeline is going to be like?
So actually, as I just said, we in-license this product Verniclean, which we have a tie-up with Mankind that we have just launched, so that should do well. We also have some of the injectable products like octreotide and phosphonatoin. So some of these products we already have launched. So I think, as you rightly said, there are 10 more products to be sort of filed, and we should definitely see many of the launches also in the second half of the year. So I think that gives us the confidence to say that we could go back to closer to 100 million turnover in the next 2 quarters.
Please help me recall this deal that you had made with Nirma, divesting your stake in the life sciences business. Has it already consummated? What is the timeline of getting the money in, etc.?
So we have, the transaction is signed, and obviously it's a binding contract, but we are expecting that to be consummated somewhere in this quarter, and money should come somewhere later this quarter or the early part of the next quarter. So there are a couple of regulatory approvals still expected. So I think in the next 3 months or so, we should see this transaction completed.
Money will be used to pay down debt, right? Or is there any other use as well in terms of capex or anything else lined up?
No, we are going to use all these funds to pay down the debt. That's what we have told even in our earlier filings as well as calls. So I think we'll stick to that. So we would use these funds entirely to pay down the debt. Okay. And
The debt then look like by the end of the year?
If suppose whenever we get the money, immediately after that we'll use it to do that. So if it happens by end of this year, great. Otherwise, Jan or whatever, whenever it comes through, immediately we look to pay down our debt.
Okay.
As you know, the interest rates are also high. So obviously, when we do all this, it should also lead to an improvement in our PAT as well. We are looking at coming year our PAT to be improved because of lower interest and as well as depreciation and taxes.
Right. Okay. Thanks for such a candid chat. We get a clear picture on what to expect really from Glenmark Pharma going forward. Good speaking with you, Mr. Mani.
Thank you so much.
Recovered quite a